Okay, so I'm just going to go through the downloading of 3D models from different sources, and then how they can be set up in Revit and used in a project file like this one. So I should have still some interior views here, so I've just been changing this file, but here we go. So I might bring it in onto this level here, and then look at how the different displays can be set up. So I'm assuming you're using Revit mainly to get your perspective images and your floor plans as well, I suppose, but you're going to be tracing all of those, aren't you? Yeah. So, well, at least it'll give you a shell, and depending on the manufacturer, you might get a pretty detailed 3D model. So when you find something like this where you have both a 2D and a 3D file, probably the one to focus on at first is the 3D file. So I'll click on that and we'll save it. So it's only a small file, 7 meg. And, well, so you can get to it, I'll save it into the class folder on the V drive. And so I'll just save it into the resources folder here. And so you can see there it's called Chair 07 3D. And yeah, you're right, so the download seems a little bit slow today. Let's just have a look at that. 14 kb a second is super slow. You know, that's, yeah, no, well, I'll just see if I can get another file, and it could just be this this website as well. The Carl Hansen one? Right, yeah. Yeah. Now, look, sometimes even their servers can play up on the other end. So I'll just do a general search for 3D models, and this is a good thing to look at anyway. So you do get things from the manufacturers, but it really depends on the product. And I'd say it's probably the minority of manufacturers give you 3D models of their products. So another thing to try is just searching for free 3D models. And you will find dozens of sites that have lots of just generic or general 3D models. So if we go to this one, Archive 3D, here's one I know. It has thousands of 3D models. Now, they're not for particular products, but you may find something that's close to what you're after if you don't find the exact product on a particular manufacturer's website. So here it's done by category, so if you're looking, say, for chairs, here we are, chairs, tables and sofas, and they have, 237 pages of chairs, and chairs, tables and sofas. And so I'll just maybe start one of these downloading as well. Sorry? Well, you often won't know until you've downloaded it. So, here we go, okay. Especially if it's a zip file. Here I know they're mostly DWG files or 3ds or GSM, which is the AutoCAD format. Okay, close this, here we go, save as again. Yeah, it does, and I'll show you all the formats it reads in a minute. But DWG is probably the best for Revit. You'll find very few in the Revit format, which is RFA. And even if RFA is Revit family file, and even if you do, chances are it's not going to be set up properly. Because like I was saying before, even the interior design firms that use Revit to produce most of their drawings are struggling with the management. I've seen a few of them where it's just not done properly. And the product suppliers are even worse. They're just learning the software. It's still fairly new software for a lot of people, and they struggle to set it up in a way that's workable. So it's often better if you have to set it up yourself, because then you know it's done the right way. So here we go. So that's going a little bit faster. That'll be done fairly soon. And I'll just show you some other ways of getting some 3D models. Well, okay, so Herman Miller, one of the biggest furniture suppliers in the world, and they have 3D models for virtually everything they make. So here if you go to design resources, 3D models, and they do have Revit files, and they're pretty good.
Okay, so that's all been verified with
Yeah, yeah. Helen Miller are good. I mean, yeah. Well, they've got the rights to most of the classic designs of the last, yeah. So they're good, and if they've got a Revit file, it's great. Not everything they have has a Revit file, but a lot of it does. So they're a great resource. And Herman Miller were fantastic. I did a whole office building once with entirely done in Herman Miller stuff, and it was just great dealing with them, and everything was good. So I'll save that one as well. And then one final resource is the SketchUp warehouse. So let's just go back to Google. It's changed names. So it used to be just a 3D warehouse, but I'll just try SketchUp warehouse. There we are. Because they Google sold it off recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which gives you an idea, I think, where they thought the program was headed. Because Google usually don't give up on winners. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's getting better. It's actually a lot better than it was a few years ago, but not enough for Google to keep them, I think. So it's got a great library though. That's free, and it's probably one of the biggest going around. So if you struggle to find something looking in other places, then try the SketchUp warehouse. It's all been reorganised since the last time I looked at it though. God, that's messy. Used to just be able to search for different categories. Turbo Squid's good. Turbo Squid. Yeah, Squid, yep. So then what else? Squid. Yep. SQUID. Like the sea creature. So yep, just TURBOSQUID. They're one of the more commercial ones, and a lot of the stuff they charge you for, but they're still pretty good. Evermotion, but no, the others that I use are more just for pure 3D, which isn't going to work too well with Revit. So, but TurboSquid are okay. And so, yeah, it's a bit frustrating with the SketchUp one that they've reorganised it. But once I can get maybe past this, let's just now going onto a link. No, maybe we'll have to look for that. But they did have, and I'm sure they still have somewhere, a list of categories that was really good to search for. Well, I suppose you could just do a search for, say, chairs, or just chair. Because SketchUp's a bit of a limited modeler, they're not going to be amazing 3D models, but again, if it's similar to the model you're after, then it's a good resource. Okay, so I'll download this one. Bit of an ugly model, but that'll do. So you want the SketchUp model, not the Google Earth model, if you're downloading from there. Okay, so hopefully got a few different models there now, and I'll just see if the others are finished. Okay, so those are finished, and that's often the case. When it says it's going to take 10 minutes, it'll often speed up and be a lot faster than that. So now I want to set those up to work in Revit. And actually, before I even go into Revit, I'll go to the file, and this is just a good idea whenever you download something online. Before you try and work with it, have a good look at it. and actually see exactly what you've downloaded. So, sorry, looking for class folder there. Here we are. So this file, and actually a couple of those that I've downloaded, are zip files. Do you know what a zip file is, or how to work with those? So if you are working in Windows, you can just double click on them and it'll open the zip file, but it's a really helpful thing to have a program that'll work with these files, like WinZip or WinRAR. And you can still get free versions of those programs, as far as I know. Definitely WinRAR. WinZip you may have to pay for. But without those, it can be difficult to work with these files. So you'll see when we right-click in here, you've got the option to go to WinZip and then do different things with those files. Okay, so that is helpful. So again, by right-clicking on that file and then going to open with, also just going to WinZip, and then I can go extract to here or extract to folder. And that way I've got all the files grouped together. So that was the armchair I downloaded from Archive 3D. The next one, this is the one from the, which one was it again? From the commercial site. So I'll just right click on that again, WinZip, and then extract to folder again. Okay, here, so again you can see there are quite a lot of different files that come there when you download it. So you've got things like textures, which is for the materials. So they're PNG files. Then you have the DWG file, which is the one we'll probably work with. There's also a 3DS file and some other formats. So you just need to be aware of which file you're trying to work with. And so in this case, again, the DWG file is the one that you probably want. And so to have a look at that in Revit, I can bring that into a family file, but like I was saying, with anything you download, to really be able to work with it, you need to know what's there. And because it's an AutoCAD file, it's best to open it in AutoCAD first. Then see how the layers have been set up and other things like that. Otherwise, it's difficult to work with it in Revit. So I'm just going to make a new file. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just going to open that file. So under here, open files, and then I'll browse to the file I've just downloaded. Okay, so there it is, Chair 07. And that looks pretty good. So that should be pretty workable in Revit. Looking at the layers, this has got the 3D workspace. So I'll change it down the bottom to the drafting and annotation workspace, which is probably the one you've used. That's this, and then we can see the layers, and they haven't set up layers. Okay, so again, you can work with it like that, but you just need to be aware that in this case, it's all on layer 0, and so, well, maybe I'll just leave it on layer 0 for now, but I'll show you what that's going to do when we bring that into Revit. Also, I'm going to check the size, so I'm just going to go to Measure, here we are, Measure, and I'll just measure across the base there, and it is, you can see there, not in millimetres. So that's another common issue you'll have when you download from other sources. So they're 84 point something across. And so we can be pretty sure that's not millimetres, because 84 millimetres is about this big. And so that looks to me like it's in inches. And let's do a quick calculation. CAL in AutoCAD brings up the AutoCAD calculator. So we'll say 85 times 25.4. Oops, sorry. If I can So 85 times 25.4 gives us 2159. So that's really not any good either. Oh yeah, centimetre. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Yeah, it is centimetre feet. You're right. Yep, spot on. Yeah. So.
Most furniture manufacturers like centimetres.
Oh, millimetres. No, normally millimetres.
Like
Oh, maybe on the website, but when they're doing dimensions, they'll always do millimetres. I used to do a lot of furniture design, so it's definitely millimetres because you're doing things down to the fraction of a centimetre all the time.
No, sorry, I just meant when they put their little things on the website.
That's right. Yeah, for the public, that's what they do. So that's the way they've made the file. Most of them will be in millimetres, luckily, but yeah, again, you just need to check that. And so when we go into Revit, I'll go and make now a new family file, and then I'm going to use metric furniture for the template. So this will just come up when you go to make a new family, and you'll be able to find that metric furniture file. And then on the Insert tab, go to Import CAD, find the file, and then now, because we know the units, I can set centimetres there for the import units. No, import CAD. So what you've got to make a new family first and then import CAD. Yep. So that's it. I can click open now. Well, you don't even have to do anything in AutoCAD. I normally would. I normally do a lot of setup in AutoCAD to make it work the way I want it to. But you don't have to. As long as you have an idea by looking at the file, how it's been set up. Mostly it's the units that you'd want to have a look at. But, well, and again, depends what you're using it for. Here, I'm assuming you're not going to be doing a lot of rendering, including this furniture. You don't want perfect materials and other things to show up. If you want the materials to show up perfectly for your rendering, there's another stage you'd have to go through to set that up in AutoCAD first. But if you just want to have the furniture showing in a perspective view in Revit so that you can trace over it, then this is as far as you need to go. So one little thing I can do in the family here, just to make it look better there, is change the scale to 1 to 20. I've just switched to a 3D view by clicking on the house, if you missed that. And then 1 to 20 will give lighter line weights. And if we go to shaded, we can see that the surfaces are all shaded in solid, so that's okay. And so I'll save this file, save as, family, and I'll just save it into the same folder. So we'll call it the same thing, chair 07 3D. Revit. Save, load in the project, and tick the one that you want to go into. So in my case it's called Fenwicks Stone, but yours probably called something different. And so now you can see when I go to place that, it's the right scale in relation to everything else. It's coming on ground floor, so if that's the case, you can still switch to a different floor. And if you want to bring back the family, you can see it's not on my cursor anymore. You need to know which tool is being used to place it. And so I'll go to component, because I know that's what is used for furniture. And because it was the last family, it'll still be there in properties. So space will rotate it. Let's put a couple of them in there maybe. And then I can have a look in the 3D view. Let's go on that level, there we are. So it's okay for 3D views. Because of the way the model's made, you get these lines coming in, which, if you're tracing, shouldn't be a huge problem, but you can turn them off as well in Revit by going to graphic display options and turning show edges off, and that can make them look a bit nicer as well. So if you're wondering about the materials at all, just have a look at the things I went through last week on setting materials for families, and that'll give you a little bit of an idea on how to set materials for these things, but I don't want to go too far into that because it's pretty involved. No, I haven't yet. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now people think that you can't do full 3D in Revit, but you can do. Well, I've shown you the ones that I've done out of Revit, and so you can do great renders out of Revit, but you do need to set it all up. The lighting is actually the area that people, I think, don't put enough time into usually. But otherwise, I'll just get the folder again, and so the other files that I downloaded, just to again give you an idea how to work with some of these others. The Herman Miller one's pretty straightforward. That's a Revit file. You should just be able to open that one. But then, here we are. This one, you can see there's a 3ds format and no DWG. Okay, so GSM, that's an AutoCAD format. Max is 3D Studio Max, which is another program again. So to work with that 3ds format, 3ds is a really common 3D format. You can bring them into AutoCAD, and so here I will make a new file in AutoCAD. AutoCAD ISO is your metric template in AutoCAD, essentially. And then you can go to, insert and then attach. And, it's import, which is, I was just looking for the button without having to type in. You do have import there. That's it. You can always just type import, which will do the same thing. So not attach, import. And then you'll see all the different formats that AutoCAD can import. And so as you can probably already imagine, AutoCAD is pretty essential when you're working with Revit. The guys who make Revit actually consider AutoCAD to be an essential part of Revit, and even if it's just for importing like this, you do often need to go back to using AutoCAD. So if I then go to that folder, so notice down the bottom I've just chosen 3ds, which is the format I'm trying to import, and then, where are we, 215, CPCAD 2, and resources, and in that first folder there you can see the 3ds file. So again, just open. Here it's a little bit different. You need to choose what you're trying to import. So just by clicking and dragging, you can select basically everything except for the global settings. You don't have to worry about the settings. Add all, click OK, and it'll import it. Now, I've just got to zoom in to see the objects, and I'll orbit, and you can see that they're a bit of a mess. Now, you could fix this in AutoCAD, but I'll probably say, well, it's easier to find something else, so I'll just go and download another one from here. That's what it should look like, and you could definitely make it look like that if you put it all back together in AutoCAD, but we won't worry about that. I download things from this site all the time though, and they're usually pretty good.
I just downloaded mine
into Photoshop.
Yeah.
What, a 3D model?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3D models can go into Photoshop.
From the surface, it was in KNZ.
Oh, from the Google, from SketchUp, yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing. A lot of those Adobe programs can do 3D now. So you can work a little bit in 3D. It's sort of half and half 2D and 3D, but it does work. So so this one again should.
Print them on the angle that you need to do, and then collage. Somehow figure it out. Make it happen. I was like, yeah, there's not much else to do, really. Yeah, so we should. Yeah. Yeah. So we can do it. Get sign off on it. Yeah, I really work. Alright, do you know how we just tried to do it last week that we were going to line them up? I'm just noticing slight more on the photos that then don't actually spike up. Do you know what I mean? They don't do line up with the right? But I know. I know you are. No, it looks like all of it. Yeah.
Okay, well, while that one's happening, I'll just show you the SketchUp. The SketchUp are the easiest in some ways because if, again, you're not worried about materials too much, you can just bring them into Revit. So again, the same way, make a new family. You're asking for trouble if you try to bring them straight into a project because you then have to do a lot of the setup every time you bring it into a different project. Yeah, and it's difficult when you've got...
Size.
Yeah, that's right. And so in Revit it's much easier in a separate family. And so here, again, metric furniture will be my template. And then if you... No, just make a new family. So on the main menu, new, and then family, and then metric template. And so here, it's just like AutoCAD. You can go to Insert, Import CAD, and then SketchUp files, you'll see are one of the files in the list here. So if you're lucky enough to find a SketchUp model, you can just import them directly. Here we go, just change to SKP. There's my SketchUp file. Open. And we've got a message again to import them. Use AutoCAD to convert. So that's only for the things that didn't work, but most of it seems to have come in okay. And there we are. It looks pretty terrible, but that's mostly because of the line weights. So if we go to a smaller scale, then you can see it without those heavy lines. And the materials have come in pretty well as well. Yeah, that's right. So I can never pronounce it, but yeah, that is a classic. And you can tell the year that they're from when they still thought that red, yellow, and blue were the primaries. And yeah. Oh no, it's in art now. That's a big thing, moving away from. Red, yellow, and blue. Yeah, I'll show you something. If you just. Oh well, let's just while this thing downloads, but just Google primary colours, and because I'm doing another course at the moment where I'm looking at this stuff, and so here we go. That gives you a really good explanation. Yeah. People have the thing about what you want to think about Wikipedia. It's pretty well referenced. You just can't cite it yourself. Yeah. But it's very well referenced, and so yeah, well, it's funny though. A lot of academics have a bit of a weird attitude towards it when they use it themselves to get a lot of information. And yeah, there's a reason. Red, yellow, blue's the old model that kind of has been redundant since about the 1930s. But yeah, there's a reason red, green and blue are the primaries. It's because that's what your eyes see. So anyhow, that's one of the best explanations because they talk about red, yellow, blue as well. Sorry? That's right, red, green and blue are the two primaries, or cyan, magenta, yellow, though red, yellow and blue is popular among artists, is what they say, because a lot of artists don't want to deal with the technical things, but a lot of conceptual artists and other people who do work in colour and light, a lot of installation artists and people like that do a lot of work on the primary colours. If you look at people like, Olaf Ellison and people like that. So, I'm saving this into my folder. I'll save it into your folder so you can get to it. Yeah, it's the worst name, but you can change that later. So for now, I'll just save it into resources, and so we'll just call this SketchUp chair. And then, so finally the other one's finished downloading. So that's a 3ds file, and 3ds files can't be brought into Revit. When you go to Import CAD, you'll see the formats that you can import, and 3ds isn't there in the list. But 3ds is a really common 3D format, and fortunately AutoCAD will import them. So I'll close this file and then make a new file from scratch. AutoCAD ISO again, import. Yep. So it's just making a new file blank file in AutoCAD. Clicking import on the insert tab will give you the dialog where you can choose 3ds, and now I'll get the in the new file I can actually go into it via WinZip here by double clicking, and that was the one actually that I put in earlier. Oh no, sorry. Oh no, that is a new one, sorry. Okay, so let's try and extract this by copying and pasting it. Otherwise I'll try another way. There we go, that's worked. And here we go. This, I'd say, is more likely to work because it's all one object or one mesh. Okay. That's a good option if you get asked about splitting based on materials, split by material. And so again now, I'll just have a look at this model. So that looks much better. There we are. From the same site, it's just this one is working. And so again, same as before, I'll measure roughly to get an idea of the units. Across the front there. And it is 24 units across. So that to me probably is going to be inches. So 25.4 is the number of mils in an inch. Multiplied, so that's the number. You need to know that number. You do. Yeah. 2.54 or 25.4. Everyone in design knows that number, trust me. It's just, yeah, you do. Because most things are from America, well, a lot of things are from America, and that's the one number you've got to remember to be able to scale things. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, people sometimes think you don't need the 0.4, but once you're working over 100 metres or so, it makes a difference. So let's just do that again. 25.4 times 24 gives us 609.6. So that is about right for the width of that chair in mil. So I'll scale it by the same amount. So using the scale tool in AutoCAD, you've got the scale tool on the modify panel. And this is probably the most common thing you need to do with models that you download because most of them are American. Again, just make a window to select all of it. Enter to finish selecting 0,0 for the base point. Enter, and then the scale factor, same thing, 25.4. And it's the only complicated number you need to remember, but if you multiply it by 12, that gives you a foot, obviously. So then I can save that. So save as DWG, and I'll just call this one 3D chair. Alright, so then now in Revit, again I can make a new family. Again, use metric furniture for the template. And then again, just like before, go to Insert, Import CAD, and choose, this time, DWG down the bottom. There's my file, 3D chair. The import units I will just set to millimeters. And that's it, open. And no, that's right. Yep. Into the project, yep. So I'll just lighten the line weight there. And so then just like any family, you've got load into project up the top. Choose the file that you want in the list. Click OK. And I'll just place a few here. I saved it. I saved it with millimeters. Yeah. Okay, so there we are, and yeah. So it's nice if you can get that. People, I think, are a bit used to having these things, but yes, you can. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, no, you can change it, but it's well. But again, just remember, all of the people who've worked in the past until the last couple of years had done it with collage, using photos of furniture. Yeah. But just you do a collage on your drawing board. You don't need to do it with Photoshop. So if you can try, well then just cut it out. That's the way a lot of people still work in the preliminary stages, even really well-known architects. So there's nothing wrong with that. So it doesn't always need to be a perfect 3D model, and lots of furniture you just won't find 3D models. So so to change the colour, I suppose I can show you that quickly, but it's not. It gets a bit more involved when you start setting materials, because that's really what you need to do. Yeah, if you're going to be tracing. So are you all happy just to trace them? You're not really looking at doing full renders at this point? No. Yeah, I mean, you can change the colours, definitely, but that's getting into materials and things like that, which is more involved. But like I said, yeah, well, last week. Yeah. And so that's why I was showing you materials, not so much to get perfect renders, just to get an idea how to change the appearance of things in your different views. And so I'll just quickly show you, if you want to have a look at those videos. Oh yeah. It's all on YouTube, yep. And in the videos tab there on my channel, I've put the videos I did with you there in twice. Oh, okay, so there we are. Fenwicks is what I've called it. Fenwicks 01, 02, 03. And the third one is assigning materials to families. So even if it doesn't work perfectly for you at this stage, it's just something that you need to spend a bit of time on, and then gradually as you use the program, that'll become more of a normal thing, and all the technical things, the things that seem just technical for no reason, will make a lot more sense. I know I had no idea about this when I did my first couple of projects in Revit, but it's something you really need to know in the end. And so that should do it for the bringing of 3D models. Lights, I personally wouldn't even worry about searching for lights as 3D models, unless it's a pendant light which has got a really complicated chandelier or something, then it might be worth it, but otherwise I don't think you'd have much luck with lights. So you can though place lights in from the library, but if you've tried to place ceiling lights in, and say in this view, let's just change that a bit. Yeah. Okay, so if I try to place a light here by going to load family and then lighting fixtures, and then choosing a light from one of these folders, a ceiling light. Notice I can't place it on the ceiling there. So if have you seen that happen if you've tried to place lights in Revit?
Yeah, we did it already.
You put lights in?
Yeah.
So what sort of lights were you placing? Yeah.
I think we already did one. I just
Yeah.
pretty much what you do from.
Yeah, okay, so I'll get one of those. So lighting.
Like I said, it's got something really complicated and just for the sake of having a light source, you just do pretend ones in the ceiling so at least if you do your snapshot, it will reflect light there and then
Oh yeah,
or what have you.
that's right, that's right. But then the other thing is just getting the lights to come in the first place. And so if it goes like this, it's actually not a problem with the light, it's a problem with your ceiling.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing, just to remember, yeah, you've got to think about the ceiling first. So this ground floor level, where I do have a ceiling, it's going to go in there. You can see there, that's going to let me place that light. But otherwise, I wouldn't be looking for 3D models of lights, like you're saying. It's just highly unlikely, and even if you find it, the setup is pretty involved. So I'll finish that video there anyway, but hopefully that helps you with furniture at least. And it's a great thing actually, I suppose, to be able to get 3D things for your perspectives.